Republican lawmakers face angry questions over the firing of former FBI Director James Comey and the investigation into allegations of Trump campaign collusion with Russia. Improving access to health and education for women and girls in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And a Saudi app aims to assist the hard of hearing. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent McCorry. This is Africa 54. Now we'll have those stories in a moment, but first, embroiled in yet another controversy, the White House is pushing back against claims President Donald Trump revealed classified information to top Russian officials during a May 10th meeting in the Oval Office between the president and Russian diplomats. U.S. National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster and other members of the Trump administration are denying the accuracy of published reports that the president revealed highly secret information. Now, the original story, first reported by the Washington Post and followed up by several other U.S. news organizations, reported that the president, in the Oval Office meeting with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and Ambassador Sergei Kislyak, disclosed information considered highly classified. Trump appeared to be boasting about inside knowledge of a looming threat to aviation, according to the Washington Post.
The story that came out tonight, as reported, is false. The president and the foreign minister reviewed a range of common threats to our two countries, including threats to civil aviation. At no time were intelligence sources or methods discussed. And the president did not disclose any military operations that were not already publicly known. Two other senior officials who were present, including the Secretary of State, remember the meeting the same way and have said so. Their on-the-record accounts should outweigh those of anonymous sources. And I was in the room. It didn't happen.
Well, the two newspapers and others further say the information could jeopardize a critical source of intelligence about Islamic State and the manner in which it was collected. The U.S. president has the power to declassify nearly any information, so what Trump did does not appear to be illegal. But intelligence officials quoted by the newspapers expressed concern that the information provided by a U.S. partner government could harm crucial relationships. Now, the U.S. House of Representatives is back at work on Capitol Hill after a tumultuous last week caused by President Trump's firing of FBI Director James Comey on Tuesday. Now, the resulting political firestorm triggered renewed calls by Democratic lawmakers urging their Republican colleagues to fund and create an independent investigation. VOA's congressional reporter Katherine Gibson has more.
Anger across the country.
Why don't you see it, Congressman?
As lawmakers face tough questions at home from voters. This after President Trump celebrated a narrow health care bill win in the House. And while many voters held Republican lawmakers to account for that vote,
and I hear the criticism, and I was a voice that said, you know, let's get the full score.
Trump's firing of Comey also prompted calls for an independent investigation.
The answer is no, not yet. Not yet.
The moderate Republicans' answer wasn't enough as frustration boiled over at his town hall in New Jersey.
How long are you and your fellow Republicans going to defend this American nightmare? You, Mitch McConnell? How long? Open your eyes!
I didn't come here to defend our president tonight. I came to answer your questions.
At other town halls around the nation, like this one in Iowa, Republicans did just that, defend the president.
I have heard zero evidence of collusion with Russia. Zero evidence of Trump campaign collusion with Russia.
But Trump's critics in Congress also came under fire. Democrat Maxine Waters, who has forcefully called for Trump's impeachment, vowed the president's supporters wouldn't disrupt her town hall.
They can't do that!
Even though House Speaker Paul Ryan wants to deal with tax reform, the focus is likely to stay on Russia. Katherine Gibson, VOA News, Capitol Hill.
Well, the United States is accusing the brutal regime of Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad of carrying out mass killings of prisoners on a daily basis and then burning their bodies in a large crematorium outside the capital of Damascus. Monday, the U.S. State Department released satellite images of a prison in Syria, which U.S. officials allege is the location where Syria is executing and cremating suspected opponents of the government. The State Department says as many as 50 prisoners a day are being hanged at the Sednaya prison. It alleged the Assad government is using the crematorium to hide evidence of the extent of the mass killings. The top U.S. diplomat for the Middle East, Stuart Jones, says Syria has sunk to a new low.
The United States is on record and has stated many times that we are appalled by the atrocities that have been carried out by the Syrian regime. And these atrocities have been carried out seemingly with the unconditional support from Russia and Iran.
Well, Jones stopped short of accusing Moscow of involvement with the crematorium, saying the State Department has not presented evidence of the mass killings to Russian officials. Well, Amnesty International has launched a campaign to highlight what it says is a dramatically worsening situation for human rights activists around the world. Now, the group hopes its campaign, called Brave, will persuade governments to live up to the United Nations Treaty commitments on protecting human rights defenders. And Ridgewell reports from London.
Amnesty International says attacks on human rights activists across the world have reached crisis point. Figures from the group Frontline Defenders show 281 people were killed in 2016 while defending human rights, compared to 156 the year before.
In the current context of us versus them, of demonization, of attacking, a full frontal attack, actually, I would say, on human rights, it is crucial that we take stock and that we call on the authorities to stop these attacks immediately.
In Russia, Amnesty says the persecution of human rights activists is accelerating with the ban on non-governmental organizations. Protests earlier this month marked the anniversary of demonstrations against President Vladimir Putin. Several human rights campaigners have been jailed.
They provoke us and drive us into a tougher resistance. They show that the law in Russia is worth nothing.
Amnesty says a copycat effect appears to be taking hold across some countries in the treatment of activists.
Only in the last week or so, Hungary is trying to have a bill similar to the one that Russia has, where it's going to be very difficult to form associations and fight for human rights if you're getting funding from external sources.
Turkey is accused of an unwarranted clampdown on human rights following last year's failed coup. Tens of thousands of people have been arrested or fired from their jobs. Ankara claims they are part of a large anti-government plot. As well as arrests, abductions and killings, Amnesty says human rights defenders across the globe are attacked using online tools. Surveillance tools are used to track activity. Smear campaigns are launched on social media to cultivate hostility.
They are accused of being terrorists, they're accused of being criminals, they are accused of defending immorality.
Amnesty hopes its Brave campaign will highlight the worsening situation for many human rights activists worldwide, who it claims are often the last line of defence in a free society. Henry Ridgewell for VOA News, London.
Italy is boosting Libya's efforts to halt the flow of people smuggling. The Italian government has given the Libyan Coast Guard 4 repaired patrol boats to beef up its efforts to stop human smuggling. However, the move worries humanitarian groups operating rescue ships near the Libyan coast. Humanitarian groups say that at sea, Libyan Coast Guards have put the rescue crews and migrants at risk in several incidents. Rescued migrants are brought to Italy because Libya is not considered a safe harbor. But increased capacity by the Libyan Coast Guard means more refugees and migrants will be returned to the lawless state. Even centers normally controlled by the government hold migrants captive in deplorable, inhuman conditions. They are often extorted, abused, murdered, and even bought and sold. Now, I want to know what you think about Africa 54. The stories we covered during the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our show live on Facebook. So check us out and share our show with your friends also. Check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Find me on Twitter at VOA Vince McCory. Coming up, helping women and girls in the Democratic Republic of Congo heal from the ravages of conflict. Stay with us.
I'm Jeff Selden, and I work the National Security Beat. National Security Beat is anything that affects the national security of the United States, from counterterrorism to surveillance to even relations with Russia. It's one of the most fascinating beats you can have. It's probably one of the more important beats that you can cover because it touches on so many areas of the world, so many areas of people's day-to-day lives. I'm Jeff Selden, and my beat is national security.
Well, it's time now for our health report, and joining us now is Africa 54 health correspondent Lino Madu with the latest news on a humanitarian crisis. Lino.
The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, says help is urgently needed in the Kasai region of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The Kasai region was previously relatively stable, but it is now considered a priority area for humanitarian operations. The crisis began in August 2016 in Kasai Central Province and quickly spread, causing more than 1 million people to be displaced. OCHA says this has caused a total increase of 2 million refugees in the last 15 months. Food insecurity, protection, and malnutrition are some of the challenges faced by the displaced residents. The majority of them are women and children. Ryan Paulsen is OCHA's head of office in the DRC.
Currently, in the DRC, we estimate that there are 1.9 million children under the age of 5 severely acutely malnourished, which means these are children for whom an urgent humanitarian intervention is required to avoid loss of life or significant negative health outcomes for them. One of the key drivers for this acute level of malnutrition also relates to the overlap between epidemics and the health situation and what's happening in the country. So last year in the DRC, we had to face a cholera epidemic at scale. We had to face a measles epidemic with close to 30,000 proven cases in the former Katanga province. We had an outbreak of yellow fever that required the distribution of some 10.2 million doses of yellow fever vaccine.
The humanitarian community launched a flash appeal in April for $64.5 million to respond to the most pressing needs of some 730,000 extremely vulnerable people for the next 6 months. Now, the Democratic Republic of Congo has been ravaged by regional conflicts for the past 2 decades. An estimated 6 million people have died as a result of violence, disease, and displacement related to the conflict. War has had devastating consequences on the country economically and socially. One such area is the destruction of infrastructures, including schools and hospitals, and women and girls bearing the highest burden. Over the years, organizations in the DRC and international NGOs have worked to help address the challenges women and girls are facing, such as access to education and reproductive health. For the past 10 years, the non-profit organization Malaika has worked to empower Congolese girls and their communities through education and health programs. Joining us now from New York is Noela Kursaris Musunka, founder of Malaika and an international model and humanitarian who uses her profile to raise awareness for causes like human rights, education, and health. Noela, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you very much for having me at Africa 54. It's an honor to talk about our mission and what's going on in the Congo.
Absolutely. Let's talk about Malaika. You've been working for the past 10 years in this specific community. What was the motivation and what type of impact have you seen for the past 10 years?
We've been very concentrating about empowering through education girls and communities. So in building a school, a high quality school where we're offering a holistic approach about the education and where we're offering a community centers to the parents, the youth, about literacy, computer, sewing classes, agriculture, and we're building wells around the village. We have 8 wells that impact more than 16,000 people a year. We believe high quality education is important to elevate the country and to offer these girls and the next leaders to take control of their own country and continent.
And now, as you educate girls, how important is health education in educating girls in general?
It's very important. You know, we do a few health checkup every year at the school. We're going, the fundraising that we're doing is to open an infirmary student health center at the school. We teach them, we distributed more than 9,000 malaria nets in the village. We teach them to brush teeth, we teach them to wash hands, and the same programs that we're doing at the school, we're doing at the community center.
And tell us about some of the challenges that you were confronted with when you started to work there and how you overcame them.
You know, you have challenges every year, but I think the positive fact is when you see how eager are the children to come to study, to come every day at the school, how the parents contribute to the maintenance of the school. And it's very important, you know, to give them a voice. We want to listen to the village and the student what they need, what is the solution. We hear about Congo, a lot of negativity, but I think there's a lot of positivity to be talked, and it's starting with the individual of each person. And you know, I'm here in New York, and 3 of the students came from all over the way from Congo, where they took for the first time the flight, where they're coming to thank the world to believe in them and to give them a platform to speak. So, you know, about health is very, last year we lost one of a student called Miriam. She had high fever, and the time the family called us, we wanted to bring her to the hospital. She was dead. So the student health center that we will build, it will be in a memory. I think every children in the world needs to have access to proper health care, proper hospital. We need to invest more in infrastructure in Congo and in Africa.
Absolutely. Now, you said some of the girls are here. This is part of your 10-year celebration, which will happen tomorrow. What are some of the highlights?
The highlight is definitely the 3 students. They're fantastic. We have Louise, we have Mwamini, we have Lauriane. Louise wants to become a journalist. Mwamini wants to become a lawyer. Lauriane wants to become an IT engineering. They are 11 years old. They're on 6th grade. First time they took the plane. First time they watch TV. First time they sleep in a proper bed. So it's a big experience. And to be here in New York, meeting more than 450 guests, it's a great experience for them. And we have 3 of the staff, the head of the teachers, the head of the community, and the head of the youth, because it's very important to invest in the youth that coming up, the next generation. And we have, of course, Fally Ipupa is going to sing. We have Eve, and we're honoring 2 of our main donors, Barry Segal and Tina Buchan. And it's really as global citizens to come together and celebrate the importance of education.
Very great. And actually, very quickly, Eve is your global ambassador, the rapper. She's a good
Yes.
Okay,
She's
great.
a fantastic woman. She came with us last year in the Congo. We opened a library together. She's really a beautiful ambassador for the foundation, and a role model for the girls, for the students.
Fantastic, fantastic. Noela, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having us, and we're looking forward for a 10-year celebration tomorrow.
And that was Noela Kursaris Musunka. She is founder of Malaika. And now, postpartum hemorrhaging is the leading cause of maternal death. An estimated 127,000 women bleed to death after giving birth. But there are some hopeful signs that a new and widely available drug could save 1/3 of women who hemorrhage after birth. VOA's Faith Lapidus tells us more.
14 million women around the world have life-threatening maternal hemorrhaging, or PPH, after giving birth. The condition kills more than 120,000 new mothers every year. A majority of those deaths occur in areas that have substandard medical care.
There are several factors that could be attributed to PPH death, that could contribute to PPH death in Nigeria. Some are social factors like delays or not having enough funds. Some are because we don't have all the right equipment in the hospitals and we don't always have all the right skills. And you have to pay for things as you go.
But now, a huge new study called the Woman Trial, involving 20,000 women, has found that the drug tranexamic acid, or TXA, can cut PPH deaths by 31% if given within 3 hours of birth. The drug is cheap, has no serious side effects, and is easy to produce, and it could have a potentially huge impact.
Woman Trial is very important for Nigeria, and indeed for the entire world, because we do know that postpartum hemorrhage accounts for 25% or even more in some parts of the world in terms of maternal mortality.
The drug is already available as a treatment for heavy menstrual bleeding, but this is the first time it's been tested as a treatment for PPH. Researchers say the challenge now is to make sure the information on the study is made available and that the drug can be transported to the remote areas where it can have the biggest impact. For writer Kevin Enochs, I'm Faith Lapidus, VOA News.
And that's our health report for today. To stay in touch, find me on Twitter @Lenormudou. Back to you, Vincent.
I'll be sure to watch Lenore Madou's health report every Tuesday and Thursday right here on Africa 54. Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, turning Arabic speech into sign language. We'll be right back.
If you've just joined us, I'm Mariama Diallo, and here is a quick recap of today's headlines. Rebel troops in Ivory Coast say they are ending a 4-day mutiny after coming to an agreement with the government over a pay dispute. In South Sudan, the UN Refugee Agency and the World Food Programme urge donors to step up support for desperate refugees fleeing the country. A local program run by the American University of Nigeria offers free school and feeding program to keep boys from insurgents seeking new recruits. Finally, in Kenya, 6 refugee runners are set to make their debut in the IAAF World Athletic Championships in London in August. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. The 57th Biennial of Venice, Italy is underway, showcasing the latest trends and influences in the contemporary art world. Now, every 2 years, the Biennial exhibits creative and ingenious pieces by contemporary artists from around the world. But are these artworks accessible to general public, or do they only appeal to those with an expert eye? Now, the featured pieces include installations and paintings, as well as daily objects and animals placed in unusual places, in new settings, or painted with new colors. This year's show includes works by 120 artists from more than 50 countries and runs through November. Well, next up, virtual doctors could bring health information to patients' smartphones with a new app being developed at the University of South California's Center for Body Computing. The DOCON app aims to create avatars of medical experts and allow their patients to ask them questions about conditions and treatment instead of watching videos or searching for information online. One of the keys to patients being able to establish a rapport with the virtual humans lies in accurately capturing the doctor's individual expressions and mannerisms. The app is currently in the development stage. And in other app news, turning Arabic speech into sign language, that is the aim of a new app that is being developed in Saudi Arabia. The developers aim to integrate more people who are deaf or hearing impaired into society, making it easier for them to communicate. The app works by speaking or typing words into a smartphone. The speech or text is then translated into sign language, making the role of an interpreter and necessary. Users can personalize the app by selecting one of 8 avatars. Part of the development stages include recognition of regional Arabic accents, and that is what is trending today. Now, it looks like the time has come finally for residents across Africa to start using their most abundant natural power source. With an aim to promote clean energy and reduce electricity costs, Kenya is one of the countries leading Africa's push towards solar energy. Here's viewers George Putich.
Solar panels are appearing everywhere in Kenya, from shopping malls and residential homes to farms.
Kenya, lying on the equator, has some of the best solar installation in the globe. I think it's about 4.5 kilowatts per hour, so which is actually very good. And if the solar energy is well harnessed, it could actually help in stability of our grid, particularly when we have solar during the day.
A regulation adopted in 2012 required all property developers in Kenya to install solar water heaters in buildings where occupants use over 100 liters of hot water a day.
Everyone is making sure that they install a solar system during the time of building. So this has worked to the advantage of solar contractors in Kenya, and which in turn means more business for us.
Residents say the use of solar panels considerably lowers their electric bills.
We're able to have hot water throughout the day, depending on the usage, and also in the night. Yeah, so we don't have to put power on.
In this farmer's field, solar panels provide power for pumps, which ensure that elevated tanks are always filled with water. Gravity sends the water directly to the crop roots.
Lakini for now sina shida ya maji. Me by then wakati nilikuwa natumia water pump, when it comes to dry spell sikuwa navuna na sikuwa na export, but me I'm exporting from January to December from the time niliwekewa solar system.
The cost of solar power kits is still way beyond the reach of many ordinary Kenyans and other Africans, so they expect their governments to do more to help them.
If the government has a goodwill to subsidize, then they will see the benefit of the registration that they have passed.
The Kenyan government promises it will soon launch a $150 million project to help local communities pay to install solar panels in markets, schools, shops, and homes in poor areas far from urban power grids. George Putich, VOA News, Washington.
Well, and that's our show for today. Now be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. For more news, tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight at 1800 UTC, and in the mornings to Daybreak Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC, Monday through Friday. Thanks a lot for watching. From all of us in Washington, have a good night.
Welcome to English in a Minute. An alley is a narrow path between or behind buildings.
Up one's alley.
Does this expression have to do with city streets?
Jonathan, do you have any friends who teach singing?
Hello. I am a singer.
You are? Oh, awesome. Do you